I'm here in the Douro Valley in northern Portugal, and this is a region with a great tradition of wine growing. And these spectacular vineyards here have been used for centuries to make port wines, but that's until about 20 years ago when a group of wine growers decided they'd like to start trying to make high-end table wines from these amazing vineyards. So there's been a revolution, and it's a really exciting place. It's beautiful, it's got the tradition, but it's also got this new movement.
It's a great time of year to be going. The harvest is underway. 2012 is looking like a tricky vintage. There's not been a lot of rain over the last year or so.
Just been harvested today?
Yes, it is being harvested today. It's quite interesting because this year, because of the drought, the berries are quite small. Do you want to try it?
Yeah. It's quite fresh, isn't it?
Yes.
The skins are nice as well, nice thick skins.
It's a characteristic of this year, you know. Because of the size of the berries are so small this year, the production of this vineyard normally we have 5 tons. We have half of that, 2.5 tons.
So maybe good for quality, but not good for your bank balance.
Yes. No, it's not. But first quality, then quantity.
It was a very dry and not very dry year, and not very warm. And apart from that, it's irregular in the sense that you can see in the same bunch, and that I hadn't seen it before. Some ripe grapes and some green grapes.
And the quantity will always be low. The slopes are so steep that only one row of vines will fit on each terrace, and everything has to be done by hand. It's expensive and laborious, which is why the future for Douro winemakers is in producing fine wine. But it's more difficult than making port. Grapes for port could be slightly overripe. For fine wine though, the picking has to be spot on.
We pick different berries from different vineyards. We crush them to get the juice out. We check out the density, so the sugar level, the potential alcohol level through.
Why are you monitoring? Are you deciding whether to pick or not?
We're deciding whether to pick and where to pick next. That's why we're monitoring.
And what are you looking for? You're looking for
ripeness,
but not too much ripeness.
Ripeness, but not too much ripeness. For the Douro wines, you need the perfect balance between acidity and sugar, and maturity. For port, you need a little bit of over maturity, so it's much easier. You just have to wait a little bit longer, and that's very easy.
These wines were a hard sell at first, with none of the international grapes like Syrah and Cabernet that consumers are familiar with. But the winemakers here are sticking with the hand that history has dealt them.
Beautiful.
A bewildering array of uniquely Portuguese varieties.
So in 18 hectares you've got 41 varieties.
Yeah, yes. Identified. Maybe some of them are only 3 or 4 vines, you know, but they're there. They were identified, they were seen. And they're part of the blend. I love that unique diversity. Every wine that we produce in old vineyards in the Douro are unique and irrepeatable. Nobody is crazy enough to plant, again, those 41 grape varieties.
One of the great ways to see the Douro is from the river itself. If you look at these the hillsides, the way they're sloped, the way that one faces east, one faces north, one faces south, and then couple that with the fact that you've got from the top of the slope to the bottom, and sometimes there can be a difference of 500 meters, and that's quite a difference in temperature. So what that gives you is what wine growers call very different specific terroirs, where the grapes grow differently, and as a result the flavour of the wine that's produced from those grapes tastes quite different. And so this gives winemakers, it's almost like a palette, a painter's palette of different grape varieties to use to blend together to create really interesting wines.
The other major factor in the terroir of the wines is the soil, if you can call it that. Unlike most crops, vines perform their best in low quality soils. Treat vines mean, and they produce fewer but better quality grapes.
So what's special about the soils in the Douro?
Well, the soil is, I think it's very special, very unique. This is the soil where we stand. It's just a bunch of rocks. This is schist, and as you can see, the schist, the orientation is always vertical. The plan here to make great wines is to stress the vineyards. So if they want water, they have to work for it. So the plan here is to get the roots to go as deep as possible. When you have rainfall, the water goes very deep through the rocks easily. And the same thing happens with the roots.
Is it important that the roots go deep for the vine?
Very much so. This is super important for the whole quality of the wine. The deeper they go, the better minerality you're going to get.
And that minerality is what makes the wines so interesting.
This is where we get the fruit coming. Everything now is picked, selecting rotten grapes or, bad quality grapes. So the fruit goes up to the destemmer. We destem the fruit. Either the grapes go straight for stainless steel fermentation tanks, or they move here to the lagars where we're going to crush by foot until fermentation is over.
These lagars are possibly the most typical sight in Douro wineries. They're stone fermentation vessels, originally developed for pork production.
I'm getting in. It's quite firm, isn't it, when you get in it? And it's quite cold as well.
Some of the best table wines are also made this way.
It's an amazing connection with the wine to actually stand in it like this and to do this. It's just amazing how much colour comes out at such an early stage, isn't it? It's just like
Just one moment.
The wonderful thing about a human foot is a human foot, we can crush these grapes and squeeze them and mush them around without breaking the seeds. And the seeds contain quite a lot of bitter tannins. And if you crush those seeds, then you're going to actually lose some quality with the wine. Even though, winemaking has lots of modern technology associated with it, this is an amazing connection with tradition. See you. Welcome. Thank you.
Of all the winemakers in the Douro, Dirk Nieport is the one I'm most excited about. He's a compelling character and a true original. He started making wines in the 90s and was crucial to the emergence of the Douro as a fine wine region. But he's also worried about the future of wines here.
Portugal is in a similar situation to South Africa. I think both countries went from making some great wines, but usually rustic, old-fashioned, and they jumped from one extreme to the other, which is making highly technological, I like to call them castrated wine, because they taste all the same, they are fruit-driven, they are made with all sorts of chemicals, and that's bad. So I think what Portugal has to do is to respect more traditions, respect more the local varieties, and I think we should be happy to be in Portugal, because Portugal is a hidden treasure.
It's a hidden treasure that I've been really pleased to see uncovered over the last few years. And I'm really keen to see what other great wines the Douro is capable of producing over the next few.